Alright, so here we have a 1994 Chevy Suburban. What we're going to be doing is motor mounts. So if you want to see doing motor mounts from start to finish, go ahead and click here. But this video will be about the part that's in the title. So if you do see parts change from old to new, it's because there will be multiple videos of different parts for tearing the front end apart and putting it back together. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the shock. I have some 1/2-inch bolts here at the bottom. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and remove the bolts on the other side. And I'm going to go ahead and remove our inner fender well. Little cover. Alright, so now I want to remove the top of the shock. So I have a 15mm bolt on top and then the threaded stud for the shock. So we're just going to go ahead and see if we can loosen up that 15. Alright, so the other side we wrestled with, so we're going to use the same technique that did the job over there. So first I'm going to spray some penetrant oil on the top of our stud right there for our shock. And then I got a pair of vice grips. I'm going to go down and I'm going to clamp the rod, the shock rod right before it goes into the shock body housing so I can lock the rod up. So I'm going to go ahead and use my vice grips on that rod. Alright, so I have my 15mm socket and a long extension. Alright, so we got our shocks off. Alright, so now we're ready to pull our shock off. Alright, so we got our upper bushing. Alright, so this is how, basically what we were doing. This is sandwiched up there in the frame. And when you turn the nut, this whole shaft spins. Alright, so you do have a little hexagon kind of deal here, or like an oval, rectangle-ish kind of. No socket fits it. There is a specialty socket, but what I did is I took my vice grips and I clamped down on this bar, right, our actual shock rod. That way I could spin the nut off the top, and then you just use the 1/2-inch impact to do that. All right, so here we got our new shock from Auto Parts Direct to You. We'll go ahead and install that now. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put our bushings on. All right, so we'll go ahead and feed our shock up through. Make sure it goes through our upper hole. All right, go ahead and put my in. Okay, so I just need to lift up the, compress it a little bit to be able to get the shock to mount up on the bottom and on the top. So I'm just a little shy on the bottom bolts. Okay, so now we're ready to tighten the top of our shock down. So I'm going to go ahead, this is a 15 for this new shock bolt. I'm going to go ahead and just see how far it'll go on. But when it came off, the shaft starts spinning, so the same thing's going to happen to us now, except we can't use the vice grips on the shock because then we'll damage the actual rod, and then that'll damage the shock seals itself. So we still seem to be tightening. I'm just checking how much thread is exposed with my finger, see if I'm making any headway. And it is tightening up, so. All right, so I'm just going to make sure it's tight with the tool. All right, so this is the actual tool for doing a shock. It's got kind of a rectangle with round edges. This fits right on top of the shock. Now, it wouldn't fit on the old ones because it was so rusty. So what we want to do is put our 15 on our nut, and we can hold our nut, and then we're actually spinning the rod to tighten it. All right, so we were pretty tight. All right, so it tightened up pretty good on its own. But that would be the proper way to take the shock off, is with this tool. All right, and then we're all set. We're ready to take it for a test drive.